NerdandSon.
Welcome to the D&D podcast. I am Nerd. I am Ralph.
I am Son. I am Connor, and this is the NerdandSon podcast.
Yes. So this is where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing. And
I forget to bring up the notes before we start recording. Let's go.
We are professionals. Okay.
Actually, we don't get paid yet, so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well. So basically the topic that we are talking about today is expecting the unexpected.
Oh,
gosh. All right. So, which I have to bring up the thing earlier in the week. We were supposed to actually record a couple days ago, and you had text me and says not to be able to record. Okay. Yep. And my response was, well, that is completely unexpected.
And then I was like, oh, well, I'm sorry. Like, it just came up, and then
it like went way over your head, and then you got it. I'm like, yes.
It did.
I didn't expect that. No. Okay. But yeah, it's basically going to be talking about game tables, players, dungeon masters, and everything like that, kind of going off the rails. And this is a couple things that I have seen a lot in different forums, different things I've read about, and everything about people spending all their time say, hey, I've spent hours actually creating this scenario, how everything's going to play out. They got it mapped out. And then first thing happens, somebody takes it off the rails, and the dungeon master, at least in a lot of the ones then, feels like they've wasted their time.
Yep.
So I think we should actually go over a couple different styles that we use by running games, and also a bunch of different scenarios that are out there to try to offset unexpected things that happen. Because when you have multiple people, multiple personalities trying to play a game, and you can't really predict 100% what's going to happen, so you have to be prepared for it. So
when you're talking about this, everybody's using their imagination. You have to realize that everybody's image of what's going on is completely different, and so most of the times they can run congruently with each other, but sometimes those are going to clash. And yeah.
So okay, so we came up with a bunch of stuff. I got bullet pointed in our show notes here that we're going to kind of go over and discuss different points of here. So I guess we'll just go ahead and start at the first one. And basically we're going to talk about players throwing a wrench into the DM's plan. Okay? Kind of alluded.
Got it right here. I am ready for Dad's campaign.
Yes, because my campaigns deal with IKEA furniture.
Yep.
Okay, but basically, yeah, exactly what you said, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, is deciding the players want to go in a completely different direction than what you expected.
Yep.
That's okay. I mean, you're supposed to be. My personal opinion is that is okay. Let them go in different directions. Yep. You're going to have to actually be willing to understand that and be able to work around that. Okay. Now, why did the players change the plans? Okay. Did the players not pick up on clues that you set down for them? Okay. Did the dungeon master make the direction too obscure? Okay. And that can go a couple different ways, because or maybe you put something in as just, you thought it was going to be a sideline thing, just a quick aside, and then a quick aside. Oh, the print's done. Exciting. Okay. I was going to ask you what that beeping was, but yes.
Yep. I told you it was going to happen.
Ooh. It's the oven.
And now the train of thought has derailed. Like East Palestine all over again.
That was completely unexpected.
Okay, So, a lot of times, in my experience, I don't know about yours, but it's been just something that the DM thought was going to be just a small sideline, a small aside, maybe just like an encounter or a role play scene or just some flavor description that you put in there, and the players grab that and they run with it. And that doesn't mean that you're not doing a good job. That means you're doing such a good job that they have grasped onto this world and believe in it so much that they are willing to, roll with those things.
Exactly, because that's actually happened to me a few times where because I try to actually be very descriptive in the areas, plans, everything is going on, everything happening around them, that you might actually use a keyword to describe something that you don't want to be a major part, but for some reason they pick up on that keyword, and then that becomes a focus. Even though you've set something up that you're hoping that they would actually focus on, it could be the way you describe it, not really the players making a mistake picking up clues. It could actually be just the way you describe it that made this other item just a lot more interesting and become the focus. And you might have to actually change that. I mean, the other thing too, besides that, is making your direction for them too obscure, not giving them enough ideas or anything going on. Or because when you're actually doing it and giving them choose and you're giving them direction, you want to have the players have the opportunity to go wherever they want to, do whatever they want to, okay? But also as the dungeon master, you kind of want to give them the illusion of full control, okay? Even though they technically do, but you kind of actually want to control their illusion of what they want to actually have had decisions to make. And if you don't actually make your objective too obscure, then of course they're going to go some other different direction. That's not really a player mistake, okay? That would be more on the DM side on that, because they have no idea what they want to do. And then
that's fair. It's like if you're DMing and your DM campaign is Star Wars, right? And you're playing and you're DMing through episode 1, right? And you're trying to get the Han and Chewie players to meet up with the Luke and Obi-Wan characters, right? And you are describing the scene to Luke and Obi-Wan, and they enter the cantina, and you describe all the myriad of characters and everything that you see, right? You've got so many characters, and they might go up to the bar and talk to the pig face person.
Well, technically, in that scenario right there, Han would be the least interesting character out of all of them.
That's what I was gonna get at. You're gonna go talk to the pig person at the bar, right? And then boom, you can figure out a way to.
We don't like your kind here.
No, I don't like you.
Oh yes. Okay. But yeah, it's on there too.
Absolutely. And,
but it being an open world, the players have choice to go in the open world because you want them to make the game their own. So you have to be able to work around that. Okay.
Absolutely.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about that's kind of unexpected is the roll of the dice.
What?
Yes.
That was unexpected.
Rolling
even
the
though
dice.
I read it, even though I read the notes and knew it. And
yes.
Carrying a platypus. How unexpected! And by that I mean completely expected.
Oh, but basically the roll of the dice.
You know what? We need to put that in. We need to put that in there somewhere.
Yeah. I could do something. Okay.
We can figure this out. Editing that's for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
But the roll of the dice, and like for example, when players crit kill your NPC or boss.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I have had this personally happen to me, where I've had a player do a 20/20 crit, and kill the big boss. First round, first hit. had such a big encounter set up, a fight, multi-tiered battle, and everything like that, and it was just gone, and I had to actually make stuff up. So that kind of stuff happens. We've had a discussion in the past episodes about hidden and open roles. I roll openly, and having the DM crit and kill a player. Don't mean to. That kind of changes a couple things.
The dice rolls.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or the roll of the dice, where this is not so much of a dice roll, but you have the player that walks through the dungeon with a 10-foot pole, tapping everything.
Yep.
So
and that's the thing, is that you want to kind of you want to find that balance of I personally like rolling only when you need to. Only when there's an acceptable risk of failure.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know. I think I'd probably roll a little bit more than that. Depends on the situation, because I do like skill checks. I do like to see what their talents are, their skills. I roll perceptions for them automatically. Like, for example, I would list their perception checks depending on what the class is in notes, and then I would just openly roll. They wouldn't know what I'm rolling, but I openly roll that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more rolls that I actually do to try to find stuff. But yeah, I mean, the dice control a lot, and you're going to have to actually be able to work that out and figure that out. So
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out the best way of actually doing this. Probably going through all these keys and then probably going back and talking about how to not do this stuff. Okay, or how to actually work around it. I guess that's going to be a good way of doing this. See, we planned ahead. We're good. Okay, well, the next section that we had that we were talking about expecting the unexpected, and this is all on the DM, okay? DM forgets an important aspect or key, okay? Like, didn't lay the proper clues down for the players, okay? Or you plan out this whole adventure aspect on the next clue, on the next line item here, and you forgot to actually include them getting the item they need to accomplish the goal. That's not good.
It's like in Resident Evil. Which one is it? It's one of the Resident Evil games where you're playing one character and you need to pick up a fire hydrant in one campaign and keep it for the entire run. Where you have your other character that you're playing, and you need there's something to do with a fire hydrant, and then you have to put it in a stash between the two, and then you can get the Magnum, and it's not properly communicated to you.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of games that are like that. So yeah. Yeah, because you never know. I mean, I've never run into that one in particular, but not laying the proper clues for the player, I have been guilty of that, where I've caught myself going, well, they don't even know what I'm asking them. How am I actually supposed to be doing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know when I run, I'm too anxious to not do that. That I know that I set that up a little too much, because I'm anxious about not letting them know or anything like that.
Yeah. So, all right. Another thing a DM has very much control of that they can make mistakes on is balancing in an encounter. Either it could be too weak or too powerful.
And that's one of the things, why I like rolling behind the screen, is because encounter at the setting up an encounter and that creating that encounter does not stop when the dice start rolling.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta change stats and stuff on the fly when you realize what's going on and what's happening.
Yeah. So, and this one I've actually been guilty of a few times, because I've had players hoard these things, stuff like that. You forget that the players were carrying a particular magic item. And then all of a sudden they pull out that magic item, and oh wow, they just walked right through that.
But that's smart play, you know.
Oh yeah, you can't blame that. That's all on the DM. There's nothing wrong with the players.
But also, you know, you can't track every little thing. That's why it's the players' inventory and stuff like that. It's hard to keep track of that stuff. It's, you know, and the second that you go like, oh well, this player has this magic item, which would be perfect for this, the player's gonna forget. You know.
Yeah.
So you can't like. You can't design encounters for, oh, they have this magic item unless you like properly set that up.
yeah. So I think those are some good things that kind of go into the way of things just going unexpected here. So yeah, I mean, that's a decent list. But I guess the next section we're going to actually talk about is how do we actually not have these issues or solve these issues when they come up. And it's actually all done with improvision. So, and my first note I have here, and what I do a lot, is I don't have things set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I have the game and everything set up, I might have some critical encounters I want specifically, but basically the majority of my games are bullet pointed.
Yep,
okay.
Yep, absolutely.
So that way I can move them in different orders. I can actually change locations if I need to, work about roundabout ways. But you always have to be able to not have it set in stone where it only has to go a certain way. Because if you make something that has to go a certain way, I can almost guarantee it's not. Because you have to know that players are smarter than what a lot of the different stuff that you set up, and they're going to find different ways to go around. They're going to see this big canyon with cliffs on the side and they only one path through it. They're going to know that, even though their players, the characters might not, but the players will. Okay, and you can't 100% alleviate player knowledge out of your game. That just does not work. So
they're gonna know that fire is used for trolls. You know?
Yes. Even if the player doesn't. So you need to do that. But yeah, if you have that canyon and you want them to go right down through the center because there's an ambush or whatever, they're going to automatically see that. Even if they don't have a hint that there's going to be an ambush, they will know that this was set up for some reason. So we're going to skirt it. We're going to go around it somehow. So you have to actually kind of know that. Hopefully they do. But if they don't, be able to adjust the encounter. So if they decide to go up and around one side and it is an ambush from both sides, you have basically a small little group of like goblins on one side they can fight, but you have the ones on the opposite side that are now range firing. Right. They could have cover. They can partial cover, full cover, taking pot shots, stuff like that. You can kind of change things up. Okay. Yeah, because there's a whole bunch of things they do. But yeah, just don't have things set in stone, because as soon as you do, it's over. Okay? And the other thing is be able to redirect. Okay? You start coming as saying, hey, no, you know what? I don't really want to go there. You know, this game, I don't really want to go to that town, even though you have like the town set up as like the next area. Okay? Yep. That's fine. You don't actually have to go to that town. They said, oh, you guys want to go up the coast. Okay? So if you're doing like a hex travel or something
crazy.
like
that. There's an identical town on that side.
Just about, yes. About the same difference. It looks the same, but it has a different name. And then also, too, you can kind of change up the aspects in the town. But for the most part, you're going to have town. You're going to have settings inside the town, okay? You're not going to have a physical town. Some places will, okay? But those things, the buildings that you have in this one town, you can take them and transplant them in this other town. So you can still have your areas that they interact with, the people, NPCs, and stuff like that. Just different location. Yep.
The players don't want to go to Baldur's Gate, well, and they want to turn south. Well, south is a little known city called Aldersgate.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, just doing things like that, it's not that difficult. It could be a couple of different things. But the only way you want to do is when you do redirect is you don't want to actually force them back to where they didn't want to go. Mm-hmm. Okay, all of a sudden they had to if you find like, oh, there's a crying little girl in the road and she got lost and separated by her parents, and her parents were going to Baldur's Gate, well, that's an automatic ploy that you want to get them to Baldur's Gate. Okay, because if they don't have enough interest to go to Baldur's Gate, then you haven't set your clues up properly. No,
you gotta make them interested.
You can't force them. So you can't throw little things like that out there. Now, yeah.
I actually, you technically can. Like, if you set this all up, you can have a candid conversation above the table. And, if they really don't want to do that, and like you set this up and you're like, hey, I set this up. And and that's why session zeros are important. That's a future video. And properly setting up expectations for a campaign, super important. And so if you have a game that's all, hey, we're gonna play in Baldur's Gate, we're gonna get you to Baldur's Gate, and that's where the story's gonna happen. If your players then go, oh no, we don't want to go to Baldur's Gate, they're being dicks.
Well, not necessarily. If you don't set it up that there's going to be adventure in there, but at that particular time when you're traveling, you should have the clues and everything set up and the excitement for them to want to go to Baldur's Gate. But if you don't set up that for them and they decide, no, we don't want to go to Baldur's Gate, then you don't want to put obstacles in front of them that's trying to force them back to Baldur's Gate, is what I'm trying to say. That is the wrong way of actually going about it. You can actually redirect them. Yeah, if they don't want to go to Baldur's Gate because you haven't set up that expectation, that is a failure on the DM's part. Let them go to someplace where they want to go. Give them the illusion of going where they want to go, and then just move the encounter to happen in that other town. Okay? That's what kind of do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm able to do it, and kind of redirect them back that way. So, there also can be, if you do ultimately want to go back in Baldur's Gate, when they do get to this other town, have clues and stuff dropped in there so they feel like it's their decision that they want to go back to Baldur's Gate. If you kind of take that decision away from them, then I don't think that's a proper redirect at all. Make them feel like they were the ones that actually make that decision by laying additional clues and everything. Okay? And it's kind of the point that we kind of made on this other note here, is move the in-game location to accommodate the players. That's what we're just talking about right now. Move in the scenarios, the location, whatever. It's fantasy. Things happen magically. And also too, especially it's in a new world that you're building, you have more control to move things around than you do in a already pre-built world. Like if you're playing in the realms, you're playing in the Forgotten Realms, it's not hard to get them to go to certain places because they've heard so much lore and everything about it. Half your work is already done. Yep. But if you're building your own world,
you can just pull up the Wikipedia page and then boom, you have like everything set up that you need.
Yeah. But if you're building your own world, they don't know what's in this other town. They don't have the excitement. So it's actually your job as a dungeon master to do that properly and to set up those kind of expectations. Have those curiosities set up. Have clues. Have different rumors. Anything to get them there. Mm-hmm. And then if they don't go there, move the freaking town. It's not that big of a deal. So, but yeah, improvisation is really the key. And like
he means improvisation.
I said improvision, yes.
Yeah.
It's the vision of an imp. Improvision.
Oh my god. I've been seeing this wrong the whole time.
Improvision. Yes, okay. But yeah, like I said, I have bullet points and ideas in my head where I want to go. I would have on the side, I would have like a creature set up for a creature encounter and everything like that. I would have a NPC encounter actually set up. I would have either like a small little dungeon or something they follow on the side. Some little side adventure. If you're doing a little sidetrack, that little sidetrack can be posted anywhere. It don't have to have a set location that can't move. So
absolutely.
Another thing, because the biggest thing is people do not want to be railroad. So if you want your players and everything to really not do what you ask them for, railroad them, because they will fight you tooth and nail to not be railroaded, and do it purposely to throw you off track.
I will say, I have been in that position. I have been that player. I have been in a position where several of us players have conspired to go against the DM. That has happened. That's a dick move, right?
Is it a dick move if the DM's is railroading you?
Here's the thing, though, right? If the DM has a plan and they have something set up that they want to do, that they've set up, you should respect the DM's time. The DM has put the time and effort into setting up a campaign for you. They have put this time and energy and effort into doing this for you, for your game. There needs to be a certain level of respect for that, right? And
I'm gonna say yes and no.
Well, it's also depending on how that is packaged and put together.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, or in the beginning of the day, honestly, because everything is fluid after that, the DM has prepped a session and prepped scenarios for you, right? And if things happen naturally and things naturally progress to do something else, then so be it. That's how the game works, and that happens. But if you are going out of your way to go against what the DM is doing, that's a dick move.
All right, here's my pushback, and since I'm mostly a DM, okay, it would be easy for me just to agree with you. Yeah, I put this much work in it. Yeah, the player should respect my time. But I actually am not a DM because I was asked to be a DM. I am a DM because I enjoy being a DM. I like creating the scenarios and everything like that too. So, yes, I put time into effort and everything like that, but I get the enjoyment out of players finding stuff, getting clues, finding the solves, me making the challenges and everything for them, and a whole complete game. Okay? I'm not going to get mad if somebody wants to do something a little bit different, because if I did my job properly as a dungeon master, then this is actually not an issue.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right. But
I also think
in my scenario,
no, I also think
in my scenario,
okay,
right? Like in my scenario, I was being a dick. We were being dicks. We were,
Was the dungeon master railroading you into doing something?
Yeah, they had a whole thing.
But that's not what I'm saying. Did they not give you a choice?
But that's not even part of it, right? We could have had a candid conversation, like I always like to say. I don't say this out of a holier than thou. I say this as I have been in the position where I have not done this and it has not gone well. Communication is key. Communicate. Yes. If you don't like what your DM is doing, talk to them about it. Be like, hey, this isn't really, we're not jiving with this. We're not really feeling what this campaign is, and you can change it based on that. If you don't like what the DM is putting you through, if you don't like the adventure that is put in front of you, talk to them about it, and don't try to subvert them. Don't try. But on the flip side, if you are forcing your players to do something, I'm not going to say it was all on us, because, us as players were responding to how the DM was being, right? It was not a good scenario either way. I'm not specifics aren't important, but the point is that all of this could have been solved if we had just talked it out and figured out what we all wanted to do, and figured out the best course of action to go forward. And that is what's important. Communication is key. We should put that as a tagline.
Well, yeah,
because I just say it. Yeah,
Okay. Here. Communication is key. Okay, and I'm going to argue the point, and I'm almost sound like I'm against this DM being a DM. Okay, if you're playing a campaign where you're doing, okay, you know what? We're going to actually do the D123. We're going to do G123, L1, L2. We're going to do this series, and it's going to be set in a specific order. Everybody has that expectation up front, okay? But if you're going to be doing an open world campaign where you have the freedom and you're growing the story, then no, the DM should not force people to do a certain game in a certain way in a certain scenario. Okay, that's just how I actually feel about it. Because as a DM, if I only want to run the game the way it's actually scripted on paper, okay, to me that is not personally enjoyable. Okay,
but my
enjoyment here. Let me finish.
All right,
let me finish. My enjoyment is the actual journey. Okay, because at the end, if the journey is actually fun for what I actually set up, the players are enjoying it, okay, then everybody's having fun. Because yes, I love Dungeons and Dragons, it's a physical thing, but it is just a medium to have an enjoyable evening with a bunch of other people. So if you're going to actually say, I can only enjoy it this certain way, then I think that's wrong.
Well, but, everybody's different. Like, you have a certain way that you like to do it. Other people have a certain way, There's a reason that there's adventure modules that go, this is A to B to C to D,
If you're playing an adventure module, then yes.
But what's the difference between a DM that creates their own campaign that goes A to B to D to C, or A to B to C to D, and an official adventure guide that goes that has the steps? There's no difference. It's the expectation that a homebrew campaign is going to be an open world, and that is not necessarily the case. There's a different campaign, a separate campaign that I was playing in, and I've mentioned it I've mentioned on air before, and it was that the DM had an issue, and they planned out the whole campaign, the entire thing, and they were like, hey, we're gonna play in this, and we're gonna have, here's the campaign, and we had a conversation, and we followed what the DM wanted, and we went from their specific points, and we had a great time. It was a great time because we had that conversation, and we had that candid conversation where he was like, I'm not as good at working on the fly with big things like this, so we and we were railroaded, but we had that conversation, and so instead of being railroaded and being forced on the tracks, we bought a ticket to the train. And it's all about the expectation and it's all about what the expectation is for how the game is going to be played.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that. I just have my own kind of view on the whole thing.
Yeah, and if it were at your table, right. I'm sure you wouldn't.
And some of this has just come as an evolution from when I actually started running a table to what I was doing at the end of me running tables, and just my evolution as a DM on how things would actually work and how to actually run things. So, yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
I have a quote here. And it's from a guy called Helmuth von Moltke. I don't know how to say that. It's from 1871.
Sounds German.
Nope. It was, I think. Pretty sure. I don't know, but it's some war guy. And he said, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. And that has been taken by the RPG community to say, no plan survives first contact with the players. And that's true. That's true. You can have this elaborate setup and it all go crashing down. And that's just how the game works. Maybe it's a roll, maybe it's a decision by a player. and maybe it's a decision by the DM. You know, it's all about the shared fantasy between the players, and the fantasy between the DM when they're working on the campaign, when they're when they have the idea of what's going to happen, and then is completely different from what actually happens on that table. Your plan will not work as intended. Your backup plan will not work as intended, and your backup plan will not work as intended. You got to be ready to be on your feet, ready to yes and you just, and worst case scenario, if it gets too far off the rails, communication is key. I say that like 3 times an episode. It's super important. And you just got to, you've just got, like, worst case scenario, you can be like, hey, let's take a break. Let me try to figure out where to go next. I'm at a loss. Or you can be like, hey, this has gotten a little too far out of hand. This was what I was planning on doing. This is what I have prepared. There's nothing wrong with having that communication.
Yeah.
That's my piece on that.
No, it's all good. And so what was that last word that you wrote down here? Last 3 words.
Oh, don't worry about that. That's a note that I had earlier.
I thought that had something to do with the quote.
No. That's buy a bow. I wanted to buy a bow for like a cosplay kind of thing.
I was reading this quote in our notes and everything like that, and then the last 3 words is buy a bow. I'm like, okay, how does that work with the quote?
In my brain, I was sitting there and I was like, when we were talking about the goblin encounter and like the goblins taking pot shots, and I was doing this, like in my head, I was like, oh, I should buy a bow as like a prop. And so I wrote that down for later.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay, yeah, that's thrown me off since I've read that 3 days ago. That's completely unexpected.
No, that was written like while we were recording.
Oh, okay. Oh, was that? What was I reading then? Okay. Oh well. Okay, I'm thinking something else. But yeah, that was awesome. Okay. Oh, but no. All right. Excuse me. I got something in my throat, so I think it might be a good time as let's take a quick intermission.
Hi guys, if you want to take a break from role-playing and watch someone burn their face off while eating hot peppers, head on over to YouTube at 13 Peppers and like and subscribe. And if you want to grow these peppers yourself, you can actually purchase these seeds at 13peppersbyralph.com. With that, have a good day.
Alright, so we are back. So cut out again. Oh well. We'll work on that.
Just put it in post.
Alright, so the one thing that we wanted to talk about is railroading. People don't like being railroaded, but let's talk about literal railroading and how it can actually be fun and exciting. Because I know you've had comments about follow quests and fetch quests. Because you started playing WoW again recently, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Hold up, I'm looking up things for our railroad. Please continue.
Okay.
Yes.
Alright, so literal railroad that you can have set up as a scenario and things like that is an actual physical train that does not stop for some reason. It could be magical, it could just be broken, it could be whatever. Like for example, you got like the movie Speed, got a bus that can't stop. Okay.
Absolutely.
That could be part of the campaign. That's kind of a railroading where they don't have an option, and they're kind of trying to figure out a solution.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. Another thing too, instead of like an actual train, it could be like a magical boat that is pathed. Okay. They can't stop it. They can't do anything. And then they have scenarios that they're passing by that they can't do anything about. And like, for example, the train or the boat and stuff like that, I'm thinking of like Borderlands. Even the last one, Borderlands 3, we had to actually ride atop of basically like a cargo container across part of a land, jump over different things, shoot different things and everything coming at you, and you didn't have a way of stopping it, but this was the only way of getting to A and B. So
and on the topic of railroads, we can look. Let me read you this article here. America's first transcontinental railroad, known originally as Pacific Railroad and later as the Overland Route, was a 1911-mile continuous railroad constructed between 1863 and 1869 that connected the existing eastern U.S. rail network at Council Bluffs, Iowa, with the Pacific Coast and Oakland Long Wharf on San Francisco Bay. The rail line was built by 3 private companies over public lands provided by extensive U.S. land grants. Building... I thought you were going to stop me.
I was just trying to let you go.
Okay, hold up. Let me get... Building was financed by both state and U.S. government subsidy bonds, as well as by company-issued mortgage bonds. The Western Pacific Railroad Company built 132 miles of track from the railroad's western terminus in Alameda, Oakland, to Sacramento, California. The Central...
You want to know how riveting this is for our audio people? I think anybody that's subscribed to us have just canceled.
No.
Oh well, but yeah, railroading is not fun unless you do it just a certain way. That's actually part of the thing that they know that going in. If they don't know that going in, then that's something else. I mean, you can actually be like, do you remember the show Sliders at all?
No.
Okay, basically,
what is Sliders, please?
Okay, actually, you might like the show.
White Castle Sliders.
Yes, White Castle Sliders on that, too.
There is not a White Castle near me, and it upsets me. Although, when I was at home last, and I had White Castle, I felt it about a half hour after eating it. I had just enough time to get home.
It upsets you in a different way.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Basically, the show of Sliders was basically this device that opened up a portal to a parallel world. Okay. And it actually set off, and they were trying to get home back to their own world.
Okay.
And it would have a countdown timer, and they'd have to stay in this parallel world until the timer went off, open another portal, then they had to actually slide to another parallel universe. And that was just the concept of the show.
Like in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
There wasn't a timer in that.
Shut up.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that timer was a sort of a railroad. So if you have that set up as your campaign and everybody knows that going in, then that's actually a railroad that could be proper, because then that actually puts time constraints on anything that they're actually doing, and they've already have that concept and the acceptance of that. So as a railroad would work out great. So, but railroading,
it is all about expectations and what you expect to happen and what you have agreed to.
Mm-hmm. And your magic word?
Communication.
Look at that. I set it up and he paid it off. That is awesome. Okay. So, do you got any other examples of railroading or not railroading or something like that people do?
The railroad opened through traffic between Sacramento and Omaha on May 10th, 1869, when CPR President Leland Stanford ceremonially tapped the gold last spike.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay.
You didn't think you were going to get history here.
Oh, I'm hysterical.
You know what? We're gonna. You know what? We're gonna pivot. We're pivoting the podcast so early on. Welcome to the NerdandSon podcast, a podcast about RPG failures.
Oh, okay. So, is there anything else that we really need to discuss on this topic? Do you think of, or? Because honestly, my whole takeaway that I have, and I think I've mentioned this a couple times, is don't have your stuff set in stone. Okay.
Yep.
Be willing to pivot and change things around.
Pivot.
And know that.
Pivot.
I mean, it's not going to go the exact same way you planned. Sometimes it will, but don't expect it, and don't get upset if it don't. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And my big point. Can you guess what it is? Communication. Just talk to your players. Talk to your players. Talk to your DM.
Awesome. So, are we supposed to be doing like the Pee Wee's Playhouse? Communication. That's the word of the day.
How old do you think I am?
Wow.
You know how old I am.
Oh, okay. There we go. There. That shows our age difference right there. Okay. All right. So I think that is pretty much it. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we will call it there. So do you have any place you want to pimp out that they can get a hold of you?
Follow me, Supersonic Sauropod on socials. And will I be streaming soon? Am I streaming while, before this episode airs? Who knows? I'm thinking about it. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, basically, you can follow me. I have another YouTube channel, which is called 13 Peppers by Ralph, where basically I taste, eat, grow everything super, super hot peppers. So
go follow it or else.
Yes. So with that too, you can get a hold of us. You can leave us an email if you got any questions or ideas or anything for us at all. You can leave that at NerdandSon@gmail.com. We will also be on Instagram, Facebook, and well, actually, we are liking Threads lately. So I've gotten a lot of feedback on that. So we will definitely be on Threads there. So you can hit us up on any of those social medias. But with that,
absolutely.
Once again, I want to say thank you very much for listening and watching the show. I am Ralph. I am Nerd.
I am Connor. I am Son. And together we are Fusion Dance, Nerd and Son Pod.
Yeah, exactly. Except we're backwards on the video, but that's okay.
Are we? No,
yeah. No. You have to go this way.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Our Wonder Twin powers did not activate.
God, you're old.
Oh, great. All right. You all have a good day. Thanks.
Bye.